I'm Joe-Lewkowicz with Coldwell-Banker Realty, and this is the July monthly live stream radio program. And in this program, I'll answer questions that come in, but I also want to give you an overview of the market for Northwest Tampa and what's happening right now. Now, July is normally our best sales month. Once school starts, the market's going to start to fall off a little bit more. I will say this month, one of the problems that we're running into is that interest rates are finally catching up to where buyers are getting a little disturbed about what's happening with the market. My regional manager tracks all the trends in the whole area, and what we're finding is we're starting to get a little bit more inventory on the market, little homes that are more active listings, and the sales are down. Also, there was an article in the Tampa Times today, or the Times, and it said that new construction was off. Now, we don't know whether that's just statistical or whether it's valid, but I can see from the activity that I'm getting a lot of people looking at homes, and they're looking at a lot of houses, and they're not necessarily making decisions like they had been. Back in June and May, I had many places with multiple offers. Now I've got a lot of houses that people are interested in, but it's hard for them to make a decision. And, so what we're looking at is market times are being a little bit longer. And part of the issue is that the sellers have gotten their prices up to here because they've heard the market is really, really good, which it has been. The buyers, though, are still down here, and we need to get sellers to be a little more realistic, and the buyers will then make a decision to buy that house because they still want to buy. It's just that houses that are now $400,000 this year, this time of year, last year were about $360,000 to even $350,000. So you add $50,000 to the price of a home, and you add 1% in interest to that place. If you're a first-time home buyer or you don't have a lot of equity, it's very hard to afford that because it makes a difference. That's a swing of about 20% in payments on a house, and that's what's made it a little bit harder to sell. However, people are still out in the market buying. July is still a very strong month. August, the beginning of August is going to be really good. Once school starts, we're going to start losing the market a little bit. Best time to sell is still from now through August. September, but if you're trying to sell and you're doing this in January or December or early February, not the world's best time. You're gonna get less money that time of year than you will right now. So if you're thinking of selling a house, matter of fact, I had a guy the other day, he said, I'm thinking of putting it on in 2 months. I said, what's the best month? And I said, July. He goes, yeah, I thought that was the case. And because of that, he's speeding it up. We're trying to get it on by the end of July, because I said you're going to lose about 5 to 6%. His house is worth about $500,000. If he doesn't sell it right now, and if he waits till December, and he's already bought another house, so he's moving, okay? If he waits till December, he's probably, just for time of year, going to pull about $460,000, maybe even only $450,000. That's a $40,000 to $50,000 swing just for time of year selling the house. So if you're thinking about moving, now is a great time. If you're really moving and you have to do it, now is a great time to get it on the market, do it faster, get it organized, get it up on the market, price it right so it sells. Median time is still running at about 29 days for the market, and get it moving. So with that, let's move into some questions, see what we've got and who's asking things. Okay, now first question, do you have any suggestion on where young families should house hunt? My wife and I are looking for a starter home to settle in for a couple of years. That's a great question. Now, number one, I'm going to say first, get pre-qualified for a mortgage. Talk to a mortgage broker. If you want, go on my website. I can give you a couple recommendations. Find out what you can afford. Then a lot of it is going to be personal. If you're going to start a family, you're probably looking at going to areas that other kids are going to be. You may want to look at schools. So now, I only deal in Northwest Tampa, which is, from a point of view, is a very family-oriented area. The schools are generally pretty good. There's a lot of families there. Prices are affordable. A lot of people like living in South Tampa, but you're looking at prices in South Tampa. And when I define South Tampa as south of Kennedy, Palmacia Beach Park, you know, all the way down almost to MacDill Air Force Base, prices there are generally double what they are in Carrollwood, which is Bush Boulevard north to the county line. Okay, now the further north you go, the prices are even better. Okay, so that's why I say get pre-qualified. What can you afford? If you can afford a $300,000 house, you can get an awful lot. You can get a 4-bedroom, 2-bath, maybe with a pool, maybe not, about 2,000 square feet in Northwest Tampa. South Tampa, you're going to get a house that's 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, but the difference is that was built in 1940, and the one on this side of town would have been built about 1985, 1990, has a pool, has a bigger lot. So those are the kind of things to think about. See if there's any other questions. Is it okay to buy a new home before selling my current property? Yes, and I have a lot of people. The logistics of this are what is one of the big issues that I always deal with. Let's say I just had some people that we sold their house and they bought another house, and matter of fact, they're closing on it today. It was contingent on the closing of their home. Now, the new people would not sell them their house without them having a contract on theirs. And there's a couple ways that you can do it without having yours sold, but those get a little more technical, and that's the kind of thing where you need advice from someone like myself who's done a lot of this. If you can afford to own 2 homes, again, talk to a mortgage broker. If you can afford to own 2 homes, that's not a bad situation, but you have to price your house that you want to buy really right, because you don't want to have 2 mortgages. 6 months of owning 2 homes gets really old really fast, so I don't recommend that. And this is a great question to give me a call or go on my website, ask me some questions, send me an email. I'll be happy to help you with anything like that. See if there's another question coming up. Doesn't look, looks like somebody's slow. Okay, oh, here we go. Okay, this is from a guest to every, okay. Based on current trends, will it be more affordable to purchase a home within the next couple of years? I don't know the answer to that, okay? I know what kind of market we're in now, and the reason I say I don't know the answer to that is every time I predict things, you know, it usually goes the opposite way. Historically, our market in Northwest Tampa has been gone up about 3% per year on average, which matches inflation. So in other words, a $300,000 house is going to be worth about $310,000 next year at this same time. Okay, all things being equal. Now, that's the historic levels. You know, the last decade and a half have not been normal markets. That matches inflation. If we do that, you can kind of keep up with it. Now, South Tampa historically has gone up at about 5% a year. That's year over year average for about a period of 20, 25 years. Same numbers I'm talking about in North Tampa. So that's why their prices are this much higher than North Tampa's, which are about here. So it'll be a little more expensive to buy. The interest rates look like they're going to be trending upwards. The Fed has talked about raising interest rates at least once more this year, if not twice. So rates right now are running at about 4.5%, 4.75%, right? You know, 6 months ago, they were running at 3.75%, which historically low rates. I mean, years ago, I was selling houses at one point when they were 16%. Our normal time is about 6 or 7, so that's what's normal, and expect the rates to get to be about that point. So that's why now is probably a better time to buy than waiting around if you're at all in the market, you know, to do something. So let's see if any other questions. Oh, okay. I know you said early July is the best month, but now that the end of summer is closing in, would it be best to wait till next year to sell my property? It just depends on where, if you're not in a hurry, if you don't know where you want to, first of all, you got to figure out where you want to move. I always tell people, don't just sell your house. Decide why you're moving and where you want to move. I had an appointment last night, house in Northwest Tampa. They've been there for 18 years. It's going to need a roof. It's going to need a kitchen. It's going to need a bathroom. And they're thinking of moving out to Pasco County. And that's great if they do it for the right reasons. They did not know how much equity they had in their house, so we kind of talked about the money. And I just said, you know, don't just go. Figure out where you want to go, what you want to spend, figure out what it'll cost you to fix up your house that way, and you know, then you can make a decision. Candidly, I told him, I don't see you getting enough new home to make it worth the move. And you know, he was appreciative of that. And the reason I say that is, you have to spend a certain amount more money to make it worth it, because it's expensive to sell a house, it's expensive to buy a house, you got to hire a mover, you got logistics, all of that works in. But in answer to the question, should you wait till next year? If you really want to sell, do it now. Next year prices are liable to be a little bit higher for the price, but whatever you're going to go buy is going to be higher, and the interest rates are going to be higher, so you're going to be paying more net money. So that's the bottom line. If you're staying anywhere close around here, I would say do it this year. Don't wait till next year. Let's see if there's any other questions. If I am willing to wait a couple of years for my home to sell, would it be safe to price my home on the high end? Is there a possibility of my property depreciating in value if I don't rush to get my home off the market? I think they mean on the market. Okay, again, if you're going to sell, do it for the right reasons. Don't keep it on the market, because the biggest question I'm asked, people, after they've talked to a mortgage broker and they're really serious about house hunting, they know what price they can afford. So in other words, if they can afford a $300,000 or a $400,000 house, they're looking in that $375 to $400 range, $275 to $300 range. You'll notice I say $400. I put that as a break point because people always have the point where, honey, we will never look more money than that, okay? Now, with that said, the biggest question people ask is, how long has it been on the market? If they see your house, and lately in our market, they're going, it's been on the market for 2 weeks, what's wrong with it? Well, a normal market, except in these extremely short inventory periods, a normal market's been about 40 days on the market to 60 days on the market. That's been normal. Okay, lately houses have been selling within a week to 2 weeks. So, you know, people have been wondering on that. But if your house sits on the market for 6 months, a year, and trust me, people can look back and go, something, you know, it's been on the market for a long time. People ask me this all the time. What's wrong with the house? Candidly, there's nothing wrong with the house. But here's what happens. If your house is worth $400 and you're asking $450, you're going to be selling it for $400. You're just going to do it about a year later, and people are going to ask what's wrong with it. And what the problem is, you're not going to sell it for $400. You might sell it for $375 because everybody's wondering what's wrong with it. So you're going to take a $25,000 loss because you asked too much here when you should have been here and you would have gotten it sold, but because it's on the market too long, it went to here. And if interest rates go up, it may go down even lower, so you end up at $365 or $350. So price it right, do it the right time, don't keep it on the market too long, and then get it sold, market it aggressively. Let's see if there's any other questions. What is your guess on what the market will look like at the beginning of the fall season? Again, good question. Fall season's usually a little bit slower. The interest rates are going up. I think prices are going to not decline, they're just not going to be increasing. So in other words, a house that's worth $400,000 right now is probably going to be, again, we talked about time of year, probably going to be about $390. Okay, it's just going to be $10,000 less if you're selling it in late October, November, December. Well, December might even be less, could be $380, $375 for exactly the same house, because there's that much less desire in buyers to purchase at that time. So that's why I'm saying, if you're, you know, what I'd said earlier, if you're thinking of selling a house, get it on the market now, price it aggressively, get it moved, because you're going to get more money at this time. Now, a lot depends on interest rates. I don't see them falling down, going backwards. And there's a lot of other trends in the market. What's going to happen with, well, tariffs got brought up as to what's happening with the total market, what's going to happen with the economy. It's always a volatile situation. So I know what we're dealing with now. It's hard for me to predict what's going to happen in the future. let's see if we have, kind of wrap it up and see if there's any more questions coming in. Let me look here and see if there was a, okay, so is it worth it to install solar panels in a new property? And what's the best way to keep utility costs at a minimum? I'm not an expert on that. So I can tell you this, whenever I'm showing houses to people, they have new windows, like double pane, energy efficient or hurricane windows. And for that matter, I'm putting new hurricane windows, slider doors in mine, and it's really expensive. I don't see me getting any of the money back out on the sale of the home, no matter what the companies will tell me. Okay, I'm going to save some money from an energy point of view. And the reason I'm doing it is ultimately, I'm afraid that insurance companies, if we get another hurricane, are going to require that. Solar panels, I've thought about that myself. I just don't know what the payback is. I don't think and I've sold one house with solar panels and the batteries in, that were stored it all. No one bought it for that. They bought it for the floor plan. They bought it for what it looked like. And that's the biggest driver. To me, if you've got, for example, if you've got an older kitchen and you're thinking solar panels or redo the kitchen, you'll get more money out of that. That's just the quick, in a nutshell. Okay, last question coming up. And let's see what we've got. And this is the last one I've got time for. How long does it typically take to be approved for a loan? Okay, and this is why get with a mortgage broker ahead of time. You can get pre-approved before you ever go looking at a property. And if you can really say, I'm pre-approved, all I need is an appraisal on a house, you're going to have a lot more power in your negotiations, because it takes about 30 days to get completely approved. They run your credit, but then they have to verify. They have to send out verifications. They may need your tax returns. Mortgage companies have to do an awful lot of work. So you're looking at least 3 weeks, generally at this time, 4 weeks. Now, if you're buying a house, it's going to take 2 weeks to get the appraisal done. So I'm looking right now, the earliest I can close generally is 30 days, 45 days more likely. I'll have people bring me an offer. They say, hey, I've got somebody, they're pre-qualified. We can get it done in 30 days. Yeah, but from the seller's point of view, it's like, I need to know that this deal is happening before I tell them to pack up and go. And I'm not going to know for about 30 days. If you're pre-approved, meaning you've got a letter from a reputable mortgage company that says you're approved for this loan. We have verified all your assets. We have verified your employment. We have verified all your income. We've done all the written verifications that we need, and all you need is an appraisal and we can close. Then you can get a quick closing, and really people selling their house are going to pay a lot more attention to you, and it's going to be money in the bank for you. So, well, that wraps up this July's monthly radio live streaming. And if you have any questions, feel free to give me a call. My phone number is on the site. Go to my website. Feel free to email me. And again, my name's JOSEPH-LEWKOWICZ, and nobody works harder to sell your home.